Well, good morning and welcome back to another year on my plot. I hope you all had a very good Christmas and New Year. I know we did, very family orientated, thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. I have managed to pick up my annual bug. Last year it was COVID, this year I don't know what it is, don't care. Both my wife and I got COVID last year, but this year and most years, it's just me. Anyway, yeah, a bit of a cough and difficulty in breathing, and anyway, you don't need to know about that. I'm on the mend, but the festive season, this bug I've got, which sort of limits what I can do, and the weather has meant that although I've been up here a couple of times, all I've really done is come in, put the fire on and have a hot cup of tea. There's only so much you can do this time of the year. It has rained so much that even my chipping paths have got soggy, which is very rare. The channels have been running hard, flowing the water through. So this year, touch wood, I haven't had any water coming through between the sheds, which was the purpose of the channels, of course, to prevent that. So anyway, yeah, welcome back. What is today? Today's Monday the 2nd of January. I've got a bit of wood, again, that I've got from the garden centre to process into firewood for probably next winter now. I've got to prune my blueberry bushes. I haven't done that yet, and they need to be pruned while they're dormant, and just cut one or two of the older stems out of each plant to promote new growth. I've got some garlic and more broad beans that I could plant. I'm not sure I'll do that because the ground is so soggy, they're better off staying in their pots, elevated up out the weather. And other than that, it's just nice to be up here. Start as you mean to go on. Work is pretty limited at the moment. I've hardly worked for about 2 weeks now because of the cold weather and then the wet. But when you're a gardener, you can't fight the conditions. You can only do what you can do. And people, fair enough, people don't want you gardening around Christmas time. They've got family and friends, etc., etc. So, welcome along. I have done a few things. One of them, most significantly, in the shed. And I'll show you a few clips of that now. no going back now. Well, I've made a hell of a mess. Maybe I should have cleared that area first. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. So I've got a bit of clearing up to do. But, and thank you to John for helping me. What an incredible difference it makes in here. It's like someone switched a huge light on. I couldn't have picked worse weather to do it in. Why can't I be patient? Anyway, it's in. The roof is now braced, because I know that will have weakened the roof. Not that that stuff is any strength anyway, but yeah, really pleased with that. And in the foulest of weather, in a break in the rain, and the roof was dry when I did it, I've got my skylight in. Pleased with that. Well, I'm stood over the other side of the site where we all drive up. And that track there goes round to the golf course, and this track here goes up the field, and the farmer goes up there regularly in his car and with his machinery to look after the fields. And in the summer, those of us who've got a plot on the top edge, we drive up and round to our plots. But in the winter we don't, and you can see why. And yesterday, while I was over talking to John on my plot, a grey Audi 4x4 came up, attempted to come up this track, and we watched thinking, you're never going to try and get up there. But he did. He made several attempts, failed on each one, and eventually he got stuck just here with this whacking great ditch behind him where the farmers put some power cables in, and it's now flooded, so I hope they're well insulated. Anyway, the young man in the car did absolutely the right thing. He stopped. His wheels were just spinning, because you can have as good a 4x4 in the world, but if your tyres are road tyres, you're never going to deal with this muck. And he came over to my plot and he said, you haven't got some wood I can put under my tyres? So we sorted out some planks that didn't have nails in and I walked back over and we put the planks under, and to his credit he managed to get out of the mess. But the reason I tell you this story is because it led to a little bit of good fortune. Yes, the good fortune was that he was delivering some brand new horse muck to John. John's got this arrangement with a lady who has got a couple of horses, and through the summer and autumn he's been bringing John the bags of horse muck as they clear it from the field. And John's got more than he can use, so I very gallantly stepped into the breach and said, I'll have it. So the young fella, really nice guy, brought his car round to this car park and we unloaded it, and I think I've got about 20 bags. Forget the leaf mould or the leaves, but these brightly coloured bags are all horse muck, and he told me that the muck is all brand new this week. All these bags, about 20 of them, is what 2 horses produce in a week. So obviously, it being new, I'm not putting it on my ground, but I am going to work it into my compost bays and I'll use it that way. So yeah, every now and again life throws you a little bit of good fortune, and I've had mine today or yesterday. And today is Christmas Eve, and I put that skylight window in the shed yesterday, and last night we had a hell of a drop of rain. So I'll come up here this morning full of hesitation and trepidation to find that the shed is perfectly dry. So for the time being it seems to have worked, and it is watertight. Thank goodness for that. Every now and again, every couple of weeks or so, I go round and check all the gourds, the birdhouse gourds, just to make sure that they're curing as I want them to. Bearing in mind I don't really know what I'm doing with these things, but I do know that they're supposed to develop mould and look a bit undesirable, but that's part of the process. This one here is very, very wet, and I can push it in, it's soft, and I thought, oh, that's rotting. So I've put it in the shed overnight, and there's a little puddle where it's been sat, and you hear that? It's sloshing about. Well, that can't be good, so I'm going to drill this and try and empty that muck. Looks like vomit. Well, that's quite hard work. I checked online last night. I typed in how high do carrot fly, and it said they don't normally, they're quite weak flyers, and they normally won't fly higher than 50 centimetres, half a metre. Well, the top of those tubs are now 80 centimetres, but of course that's not how life works. They don't get to 50 and then abort. Sometimes the wind will carry them up and over. So I'm going for a three-pronged attack here to prevent carrot fly in the next year. I've elevated them, and
they're a lot higher than I'm led to believe that the carrot fly will fly. And I'm going to grow a ring of spring onions around the edge of each of those tubs, with a view to, the RHS suggests that sometimes the smell of alliums can confuse and deter carrot fly. And then the last and the most important one, I'm going to grow a carrot fly resistant variety of carrots. I think there's flyaway and resistor fly. We shall see. So those tubs are pretty much good to go. The problem with the blue ones at the end is they're a hell of a lot heavier, and 2 of the 3 of those blue tubs don't have bottoms. So I've got to dig it all out into a wheelbarrow or something, put in the pallets to raise them, and then put it all back and then put soil in. And of course I've got to put a firm bottom on it, otherwise the soil will just drop out. So there's a bit of work to be done then, and that's not going to happen today, I suspect. And these were all main crop Sarpo Mira. I dug out 4 of the tubs yesterday, looking for good size roasties for Christmas dinner, and managed to tick that box. And there are 2 tubs left, hence the glass over them to stop them getting more wet and rain and rotting. So yeah, a good bit of work accomplished, but a lot more to do. Well, yet again, I underestimated my own impatience. I got on with it, just got on with it, and I thought, rather than empty out and faff about with those blue barrels, I'll put them there for the time being. I had 2 leftover green tubs. One's empty. I need to drill a hole in it so the water drains out. But I just need 1 tub on the end. I might see if Les has got some spare ones. These were all his tubs, these bright green and black ones. And I think they were used to collect golf balls in. But they've all cracked and got holes in, so he gave them to me. I might see if he's got another one. But yeah, anyway, that's that job done. Right, cup of coffee. Right, well, I'm down the far end of my plot, and I thought we'd start the year with a tour of the state of play. First thing I'd like to say is I'm really pleased with how it is at the moment, because I have now, I think there's one exception, I think I've now top dressed or dug in manure, compost, leaf mould, whatever I've got, into every single bed, like I say, with the exception of one, which is where the Swedes are now. And as soon as they're dug out, that will be top dressed as well. So these beds are all heavily top dressed with cow muck, organic, well rotted cow muck. Before that cold snap we had last, well, 3 or 4 weeks ago, the rhubarb had started to grow really strongly, but the cold snap dropped it all, so I picked it all off, and there's signs of regrowth there now. But so this bottom end is all looking good. I've got a little bit of purple kale left to go in our smoothies. You've seen that area. So this is all looking good, and I've now got planted along here to make maximum use of every available space. And most importantly, the vertical spaces. I've got a nice blackberry there. I've planted a raspberry there. The only raspberry I've got on my plot that ever produces, and it does well, is behind the sheds. For those of you who watch me regularly, you'll know where that is. There was a runner came off it in the summer, and that's what that is there. I dug it up and I've put it in there. There's a stump there. That is the blackberry that was growing up between the cold frames and my warm shed. So I dug that out, I cut it off, and I'm not seeing any signs of life yet, but I'm hopeful. And then another blackberry there. So all that vertical space in the summer will be used. These drums have all refilled simply from the rainfall that's landed on them, and I've drilled holes at the lowest points, and it's filled them. That's how much rain we've had. And here are the garlic plants that I've got ready to go in. These are more of the Aquadulce Claudia, and then the ones behind, the smaller ones, they are dwarf broad beans, the Sutton. And then we come to the main bed, the main part of the plot. As I sink in the chippings, and it's the same here really. I'm going to look at what this soil is like here today and see if I can't plant the rest of those Aquadulce broad beans. But the onion seems to have survived, and then the rest of the beds are pretty much empty. But it's all prepared, that's the main thing. When I start sowing, beginning of January probably, the beginning of February, then the ground will be ready. And it's lovely to see signs of daffs coming up in the tubs. More onions there. Yeah, it's all looking good. I'm ready. Just need the ground to dry up a bit, but you know, we've got January and February to get through yet, so just restrain myself and limit myself to what I can do, and that is process wood and a little bit of winter pruning. I'm not sure I ever showed you this end of the shed. I did say I was going to do it, but at some point a few weeks ago I cut up all this extra pallet wood I had, and I've braced the end of the shed. And in between every piece of that wood, because you get the driving rain on this end, the westerlies, I've put in sealant and then squeezed the wood down and drilled it in. So I'm hoping, if I've done a good enough job of that, that damp and moisture aren't getting through. And there are still a few bigger gaps up the top that perhaps could do with a bit more sealant. But I'm very happy with the way that's worked out. I feel a lot more secure inside the shed when the wind blows, now that I've got bracing inside and out. And my little solar panels driving my 2 little lamps, which have been a real success. What a lovely day. Well, I showed you that rather slushy wet gourd, but these are in the covered area between the sheds, so they're not indoors but they're out of the rain, and this is how they're meant to cure. I quite like it. I think it looks attractive. I mean, it is mould. I don't know how close I can get. I mean, it is on the surface, it's mould developing, but you know, I'm led to believe, having looked at various YouTubers from America, that that's how they're meant to cure. We'll see.
I've got the little robin coming in and out the shed now. I put some of the mealworms down on the carpet and in he comes. He don't come too close to me, but he does come in the shed when I'm in it, which is lovely. John's up here and I've had a chat and I've been helping Les sort out a repair on his building. And I said to them both, I said, I'm full of optimism for this year ahead. I don't mean optimism for society as a whole. I have no optimism as far as that's concerned. Does everyone else feel like I do, that never in my living memory have our leaders, whether it's health, government, been so inept, unable to achieve the most simple of tasks, like keeping our borders secure? Just completely unable. Anyway, but yeah, I mean optimism on the plot. Yeah, it's that time of year when you look back at what you got right and wrong and look to correct it for this year. So I've just made a couple of notes. Yeah, I've got to move the gooseberry. I've got 3 gooseberry bushes in one bed, but I've got another bed that has gooseberry bushes, black currants, and a honeyberry, and they all need to be in the one bed. So I need to consolidate that. I moved those gooseberries when I moved and relocated the pond, and they just need to be with all the other fruit bushes in one bed. Try and grow better Brussels sprouts. I was really disappointed with my Brussels sprouts this year. They were tiny. Now I suspect that that is due to the drought, which seems a long time off now, but I need to feed them and water them more consistently, I think, to grow larger sprouts. I'm going to take my first crop of asparagus this year. That'll be exciting. I need to grow more leeks. We ran out of leeks a long time ago. Again, they didn't grow particularly large, and again that would be down to the drought, but I need to grow more of them. Grow smaller onions. Some things need to be bigger, some things, the onions, need to be smaller. So you've seen me grow them much closer together this season, and that's with a view to growing much smaller, more reasonably sized onions. More potatoes in the ground. The kestrel, I think that's a second early, and the Sarpomera were hardly touched by wireworm, slugs or anything in the ground. So there's no doubt that there are varieties you can grow in the ground that the slugs don't tend to go to. Save more of my own seed. I've got a lot better at it. I've got lots of saved seed from things like pumpkins, the gourds, cucumber, mostly the squash type things, the butternuts. But yeah, sow and keep more of my own seed. And something that you saw me making my first attempt at earlier in the video is to avoid the carrot fly. We got a really good crop of carrots this year, and you can cut round the carrot fly. It doesn't ruin the carrot too much. But if I could, you know, change that and have completely carrot root fly free carrots, that would be a big step forward. So they're my main aims for the year. They're all they're limited. They're not ambitious. But if I could achieve each of those, I'd be much happier on the plot, and there'd be a much more usable crop, more importantly. So they're my aims for the year. Apart from the main big one, of course, which is to come up here and just enjoy being here, growing my own fruits and vegetables. Who knows what the year holds? Well, it's been a glorious day. It's t-shirt weather. Yeah, a really good start to 2023. The plot is in good nick. I've planted the rest of those Aquadolce broad beans, so all I've got left now is some garlic, and I'm not putting that in till the ground dries up a bit, and the Sutton shorter dwarf broad beans. But that's the sum total of everything. So onions, broad beans, garlic, and some Swedes left over from last year. A lady on one of the other plots came over, and she seemed a bit sheepish, and she wanted one of my Swedes. And I said, please help yourself, we're simply not going to use them all. But she wouldn't just take it, so she gave me the most enormous leek off her plot as a one-to-one swap. And that's lovely, isn't it? That's the way it should be. John's been up here all day. I've seen a few people come and go. So yeah, a really good start to the year. I'm in a really strong position right now. I'm looking for work on the plot rather than trying to play catch up. Of course, that will all change come end of February, March, as the weeds start to grow, and then it'll be full on. But right now, very happy with the way the plot is. The shed area, chuffed to bits with my new roof light. Yeah, couldn't be better. So who knows what the year holds, but I'm optimistic and very much looking forward to it. January and February can't go quick enough for me. But welcome back to the channel. Thanks to all those who've subscribed up to now. And I will see you, I don't know when. I just don't know how much there is to film at this time of year. But as soon as I've got something, I'll be back. So look after yourselves. Take care. Bye for now.